Two witnesses to al-Houla Massacre said that the massacres in that area were carried out by armed terrorists who were targeted specific families known for the support of the government and refused to join protests. More details in the following.
I used to accompany the gunmen step by step and knew all the details of their work. 3 days before the massacre, the gunmen had been discussing something that would happen on Friday, saying that it was something special and big. On Friday, May 25th, after Noor prayers, gunmen showed up near the clock roundabout, while large groups headed down the road to Sad area, which is known as Tripoli Road, with the first group beginning to shoot their guns in the air to keep the checkpoint at the roundabout busy and give the impression that they intend to attack it. The second group consisted of several armed groups from several areas, some I knew and some I didn't, and all of them heavily armed. These groups included the group of Khalid Abu Wahid, the group of Abdul Malik Saleh, the group of Nidal Bakur, the group of Haytham al-Husan, Ikrima, Aqrab, Kafarlaha and Taldahab groups. Then the gunmen opened fire at random at a security detachment in the area, hitting its personnel along with nearby houses and locals. Most of the gunmen didn't know how to handle their weapons, as one was using a PKC machine gun that kicked him back, while another launched an RPG round that hit al-Zaqahi house instead of the detachment, killing 2 civilians. The gunmen's intention was to liquidate a specific family of a membership in the People's Assembly, and the fact that its members didn't join protests, support the government, stay out of trouble, and didn't give the gunmen money to buy weapons, adding that there were also personal revenge and family feuds, and the fact that a Sayyid family, which was targeted and related to People's Assembly member, and the gunmen wanted to make this a present for becoming a member. The group led by Haytham al-Husan hated a Sayyid family. They're killers, not revolutionaries, and their trade is abduction, murder and theft, through which they collected millions. This group didn't even fire at the detachment, but rather at the house where Uqba Sayyid, his brother, his sister-in-law and their children were staying, killing them all. Next to a Sayyid house was a house belonging to Nidal Bakur, the leader of another group. The people in that house are still alive, while the others were killed. The same applies to several houses near the detachment. The massacre was simply an attack against specific families by the gunmen.
On Friday, May 25th, I saw a large number of gunmen appearing, many of them strangers not from Tal Daw area. These gunmen began attacking a law enforcement checkpoint with a mortar round fired by a man named Saeed Faiz Laukesh, which the law enforcement personnel noticed, prompting them to shoot him, injuring his leg, and then he was rushed to a field hospital in Kafarlaha. The gunmen opened heavy fire on the checkpoint, with other groups communicating with them through wireless devices, with talk indicating that they were simply distracting the law enforcement forces at the checkpoint. I heard him referring to specific groups by the areas they came from, such as Tal al-Dahab, Aqrab and Arastan. The groups attacked checkpoints in the area simultaneously at around 1:30, with many law enforcement personnel dying as the gunmen kept attacking for nearly 3 hours. After taking over the checkpoint, they stole the weapons and the ammunition which was in it and began distributing them among themselves, then immediately set fire to the checkpoint along with the nearby hospital and the woods behind it. One of the gunmen was Haytham al-Hallaq, who led a group of around 200 and carried a cleaver along with his firearm. His group is notorious for theft and abduction. His groups joined groups from outside the area and headed to Asad Road. Around 7, we learned that the gunmen attacked the detachment and committed the massacre in Asad. At around 8, the gunmen were finished transporting their victims. One of the gunmen was Haytham al-Hallaq, who led a group of around 200 and carried a cleaver along with his firearm. His group is notorious for theft and abduction. His groups joined groups from outside the area and headed to Asad Road. Around 7, we learned that the gunmen attacked the detachment and committed the massacre in Asad. At around 8, the gunmen had finished transporting their victims to a Ram mosque north of the area, and then they broke cars and used them to move around the area. The victims belonged to the family of a Sayyid, with Muawiyah Sayyid being a police officer who didn't defect and was always in danger, along with two other Sayyid families who are related to Mishlib Sayyid, who recently was elected Secretary of the People's Assembly. Another family that was targeted is Abdul Razak family, which consists of 4 families that support the government. The houses belong to a Sayyid family are located next to the houses of gunmen and their relatives. How the gunmen children weren't killed if the attack had been perpetrated by Shabiha, as some claim. Another family that was untouched is that of Fawr, and that all the members of his family are armed, and one of whom acts as a cameraman for Al Jazeera. How none of these people died when their houses were full at the time of the massacre. The large number of bodies which they dragged out before the observers to pass as victims of artillery bombardments included the bodies of gunmen along with the families that were murdered.